Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's afternoon in India. Morning for you people.
Here in Nigeria, it's 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, it's almost 2 in India.
Wow. Ma'am, I couldn't find you on LinkedIn. Is it that I don't know how to search correctly or something?
I am there on LinkedIn. I'll just share my profile just a second. I'll just share it here.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, hi Farida. How are you? How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay. So, done with your morning chores?
I'm at work.
Okay, you're at work?
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Your Sunday
This
is not.
this week this weekend I have been working.
All right. So
Yeah.
you'll get a leave later on.
Yeah, in the afternoon around 3 o'clock.
All right. And
Yeah. So
for this working Sunday, you'll get a compensatory leave.
yes, we have annual leave. That's for 21 days.
Okay.
But apart from that, in the hospitality sector, you are forced to work even weekends. So we are just used to.
You're just
We
used
don't
to it.
have weekends anymore.
Okay.
So
So your
yeah,
family is fine with it.
yeah.
uh,
We're okay with it. Though our kind of shifts are somehow difficult. 'Cause yesterday I was here until 12 o'clock midnight, and
oh,
I'm back at 6 o'clock this morning. So it's
how
yeah,
how do you manage
like
with such little sleep?
just I'm just used. So
You're
I
just
usually sleep maybe 4 hours.
okay.
Yeah.
You have a lot of caffeine, huh? A lot of coffee shots going on. Keep you
Yeah,
awake.
I actually love tea and
Okay.
coffee.
Okay.
So
You can always visit India. We are the world's best tea makers in the world. Like, yeah, we love our tea.
oh, oh. Yeah, I love tea so much. I can usually have tea the whole day without
Okay.
having the other staple food. I'm okay with that.
All right.
So and
So,
where I am, it's very hot. It's very hot for tea. It- It's very
in
hot, but I still take
India,
tea.
in India is a hot country. Like it's a hot and humid place, but we also love our tea, and we have the milk variant. I suppose you people don't take milk in your tea.
Milk. We
Yeah,
do.
you take milk in the tea.
Yeah.
Okay, so right, so it's the same then. Yeah, so we have during winters we put in ginger in our tea, and it's a milk tea, and people love it. It's so
Oh.
and in the summers we love our tea because it helps you to keep cool. Like you see the hot weather, and then you have something hot, and you are fine with it.
I will try to have the tea with the ginger and milk. I haven't tried that. I'll give it a try.
Yeah, sure, sure. Do that. And I've made you the co-host, so your work
Oh,
continues. Your work continues.
okay, thank you.
So you are managing the classes and the your work there.
Sorry?
You're managing your classes and the work.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'm trying to manage the two. But yeah, it will work.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll work.
Yeah, it will.
We have to make it work somehow.
Yes, yeah, but it will. I'm
Uh,
positive.
yes.
All right,
Right.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Okay, everyone. Like I just shared. I don't know whether you people can see the message. I shared my LinkedIn details. Uh, Mohammed asked for it, so I just shared. I don't know whether it's visible for you people.
Yes, I
Mm.
received it.
No, you for you it was like the people who join in later on. I don't know whether you can see the past chat or not. Mm. We'll wait for a few minutes and then we'll start. Let a few more people join in. Masumba, how are you?
I'm good, and you, Professor? And how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. It's a holiday today, or you are also working?
No, it's Sunday today, so weekend. I'm home.
You're home. Okay. So how are
Yeah.
the sales picking up? Your foreign exchange position improving?
Um. No, it hasn't changed. Same scenario, but I think we what we're doing now is that we the customers, like people that are buying, are now used that if you want to buy a new car, you have
Mhm.
to make sure you find where you find dollars. So they're coming through on the end.
Okay. All right. So right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sales are picking up.
Yeah, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Not where we normally are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not bad,
But
but
still better.
yeah, still better than it was.
Okay. Good to hear that.
Thank you.
Ma'am, the weather is it cool weather on your side?
Yeah, it's it's cold. Still wearing my sweaters. The temperature, yeah, it's pretty cold right now. Not as cold, like Punjab is a very cold place where I am. It's a very cold place, but right now it's okay. It's still bearable. Mm, the temperatures and everything. It's what? It's 21 degrees right now. It was 5 degrees in the morning. So it's ranging between 5 to 21 degrees. Early in the morning, it's quite cold. Let's start. It's already 2:08. People will be joining as and when they want. So I'm starting off with the third block today instead of coming to the second block. I'll be first doing the third block because it's to do about the new economic policy, and I think so it will resonate with you because you people have had something similar in your countries as well, because like depending on when your countries joined the WTO, uh, all the economies in the world, they went through some uh, makeover, some changes in their policies, because uh, the WTO warranted those changes in your economy. So we had our changes much before the WTO. Like yeah, we started in the 1980s. We started. So what we'll be doing here is we'll be describing liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which is your LPG. What impact it had on the Indian economy, what the reforms are, and how it has like the various sectors of the economy, how they have been affected by it. So this is a picture of our late Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. He was the Prime Minister of India in the 1980s. He became the Prime Minister of India in 1984, uh, and his mother was Indira Gandhi, who was again the Prime Minister of India, and she was assassinated in 1984. And after that, like there was a re-election, and the party got re-elected, and he was chosen as the Prime Minister to lead the country. So in 1985, he was a pilot by profession. Before joining politics, he was a pilot, and a very young man when he like became the Prime Minister of the country. And 1982 was the year when we started reforming. So we started off with uh, I suppose everybody, have you people got some idea about the oil crisis in the world? Do you people have all those the oil crisis? You people are aware of the oil crisis that have happened? Mm, have you people heard about the oil crisis? No, the international oil crisis that have taken place. Like there are two points of history. It has happened. Uh, all right. Um I don't know, like how your countries were impacted. I've not read that. Uh, 1973 was the first time when there was a major oil crisis globally, when the OPEC countries, they brought down the supply of gas, and the reason was that dollar was delinked from gold, from the bullion. So that was again expected. Like everybody knew that America would be uh, delinking its currency from gold, but when it will happen, that was not known. So since the Second World War, we everybody knew, like after the Second World War, everybody knew that they could not continue pegging the dollar with gold, because that much amount of gold was not there. So in 1972, America took that decision, and they delinked the dollar with gold. And all these OPEC countries, as a mark of protest, they brought down the supply of petrol. And as a result, what happened was that things went downhill for most of the countries because suddenly the prices went very high. Your import bills hiked up, and we in India, we managed to survive that oil crisis quite well. Quite well, we were there. Like our prime minister at that time, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, she was a smart lady, so she did a very good deal with Iran, and we were in a position to secure petrol for us, and that helped us. And the second crisis took place in 1979 when Iran had a issue with its there was a political upheaval in Iran in 1979, and that is when the second oil crisis took place. Uh, we did not handle our second oil crisis well. We had a change in the central government. They were not as experienced, and yeah, we did not do well. We did not manage to fight the second oil crisis. I don't know, again, like, you people can tell me about your countries if you know the history, that how well or how not so well you people were during the oil crisis. Anybody has got any idea about their country, about how you people handled those two oil crises? Anybody has got any idea? Uh, no, nobody has got. I saw Isa. Isa, any idea?
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, morning. How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm good. And
I
any
have
information?
I have
Yes.
no idea, ma'am. Maybe I was not born. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Thank
So,
you.
okay, right. Thank you. Okay, we like in India, what happened was that as I said, that we did not like handle the second crisis well. We uh, we went to IMF for a loan in 1982. We went to International Monetary Fund for a loan, and that was one of the like we became independent in 1947, and from 1947 till 1980s we were doing well, but then this the second oil crisis had an impact, and we went to IMF for a loan. IMF gave the loan on the condition that we had to open up our economy. That means we had to do more international trade. We had to allow more countries to enter our country to do business, and yeah, so that was basically the uh, condition, or the situation at that time. Uh, we were smart people. We are smart people. We took the loan. The loan was given to us for 5 years. We repaid the loan in 3 years. We did not require the stipulated 5 years to for the loan repayment. We repaid our loan in 3 years, and as a result, what happened was that we did not open up our economy to the extent to what IMF had asked us, and we were more of a socialistic country at that time, socialist country. We were we were a natural ally to Russia, USSR. At that time, it was USSR. So we were a natural ally to USSR, and our government sector was the main sector in terms of the economy, in terms of producing goods, in terms of building all the infrastructure. So the public sector was the main stay of our economy at that point of time. Now, 19 like when we took that loan, and the international scenario was changing at that time. You people have heard about GATT? You have heard about GATT? GAAT? Have you people heard about GATT? General Sorry, I've written it wrong. It's GATT. GATT. So sorry for that. It's a general agreement on trade and tariffs. So that is the full form of GATT. And have you people heard about GATT before? No? Yeah, somebody is opening their mic. Go ahead. Uh, yeah, Khamis. Hello, Khamis. Mm, fine. So everybody's
Good
celebrating.
morning, Prof.
Yeah, good morning. I thought you were busy with your Sunday. Uh, have you heard about GATT?
No, no, actually, ma'am.
No? Okay. All right. Fine. So, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff is an was not is was an international body that was formed in 1944 under the Bretton Woods Agreement. So, under the Bretton Woods Agreement, Bretton Woods is a name of a place and the agreements that took place. So, after Bretton Woods, there were three main organizations that came up. One was IMF, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the third was your General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, that is GATT. Now, what GATT was doing was that GATT was looking after the international trade, and it was basically a platform where countries could come together and they could discuss their trade. Like if there were any issues, the bilateral issues, multilateral issues, and things were not if things were not doing well. So you had all those things. So there was GATT became quite active in the 80s, and there was this whole talk about how to make the world into more of a capitalist state, and America was trying to like increase its hegemony, you can say. And Russia was had started doing not so good, USSR, and it was not as strong as it was in the 60s and the 70s. So America saw that as an opportunity, and it started like GATT became a vehicle of of that propaganda from America. And in India, what happened was that our then Prime Minister, uh, Mrs. Gandhi, uh, she understood the changing pattern in the global trade, like in the global scenario, and therefore what she did was that she wanted more of privatization in the economy. So she went for she started her policy decisions started changing, and she started looking for more of private uh, like more of private participation in the economy. And the first joint venture that we had of very prominent importance is Maruti in Udyog Limited with Suzuki. Have you people heard about the name Maruti? Maruti cars. Has anybody heard that name? Because Maruti exports to Africa as well.
Yes, we heard.
We have heard. So, Asad, in your country, there are Maruti?
Yes, it's available.
Okay, it's available. Okay. What about you, uh, Chipulmutso? What about you in your country? Maruti is there?
Yes, ma'am. Maruti is there, but you not get a brand new car. They usually second hand ones.
Oh, acha. All right. So that was our first joint venture in automobile section where we had a collaboration with Suzuki. Yes, Mohammed?
It's like it has been sold to Japanese company.
No, no, it was not. It has not been sold to Japanese company. It was a joint venture with Japanese company Suzuki. So Maruti and Suzuki, they came together. Maruti was an Indian company, and Suzuki was a Japanese company, and we came together, and we started manufacturing cars. So that was the first change in the Indian economy that you could see. And 1984, Mrs. Gandhi got killed, but by then, that you can say that. mm Slowly we had started changing our economic pattern, and if like what Rajiv Gandhi said, like what you are seeing on your screens is what Rajiv Gandhi said, that the public sector has entered into too many areas where it should not be. We shall open the economy to the private sector in several areas hitherto restricted to it. So he spoke about more participation of the private players, and the withdrawal of the government from economic activities to a large extent. So, liberalization, what does liberalization basically mean? Liberalization means where you are giving more power to the private players, and you are making it easy for them to run their business in your country. And so, in if we are talking about liberalization in India, in 1991, we abolished the industrial licensing, and only 18 industries at that point of time required licensing, which were basically most of the industries which required licensing were either related to defense, or to the security, or to your these like big mines. So there were very few areas which were there which required licensing. Slowly that also was done away with. So 1993, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, they decided to remove three more items from this list of 18. So in 1993, there were only 15 industries which were reserved for there. So the three items that were removed were motor cars, white goods, which are all these washing machines, ovens, air conditioners, refrigerators. These are all known as white goods. And the third was raw hides and skins and patent leather. So these were also liberalized, and the basic reason the like they wanted was that uh, the government wanted more investment in these industries, and so they wanted it made available for the middle class. They wanted these things to be made much cheaper, and it was the government decided not to treat them as commodities, as luxury commodities, but more of necessities, and that is how things started moving. And uh, yeah, so this is what we were doing. Now I don't know, like I am finding that are you people interested in knowing this Indian history? Because this syllabus that has been made is mainly for the Indian students. And how do you people relate it? If somebody could tell me about their own country's economy, that how was it working? How did you people change? Are you public sector dominated? Are you private sector dominated? Mm, uh, what is it like? Is there a lot of liberalization in your economy? Are you trading a lot with other countries? How is it in your countries? Khamis, if I may ask you about Nigeria.
Well, I can say we are both into industrialization and both private and public sector
Mm-hmm.
because the government are providing quite free and fair atmosphere for companies to come into the country and establish their businesses to invest heavily in sectors like agriculture, technology, and other sectors. And there is a major improvement in our agricultural sector and major infrastructural development, like transportation sector, which the Nigerian government also initiate a project of revitalizing this our train transportation and also major road infrastructure across the country. And also in the aspect of agriculture, there is a huge development which the government collaborating with major companies in the world to establish a major fertilizer companies that are producing tons of fertilizers to make it very easy accessible to the farmers. And also we have a huge investment by the private sector, which they invest heavily in establishing, I think, the second largest petroleum company, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, petroleum company and also refinery.
Yeah,
So
yeah, go ahead.
actually, we are both private and public sector.
All
That
right.
is what I
So,
can say for now.
Nigeria, when did Nigeria gain its independence?
Nigeria get its independent first October 1960.
Okay, so you are a younger country to us.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
actually, ma'am.
okay. And Isa, you are in your country. How about you in your country?
Let me. Hello, ma'am. I'm in a crowd.
Acha, you are in a crowd. Okay, so sorry. So
Yes,
sorry
I'm
to ask you.
surrounded with kids.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. Chipulmutso, what about Malawi?
Um, I think hello. Yes,
Yeah.
Malawi.
Hmm.
We are predominantly, I think, government. Okay, there is market liberalization, but to a certain extent,
Okay.
government still has control of a lot of things.
All right.
For instance, the
Uh,
biggest buyer in Malawi is government. So once you get in bad books with government, your
mhm.
business is as good as dead.
Okay. And when did you become independent?
Is it around 1960 something? No, is it 1960 something? Should be around 1960 something.
Okay. You're not sure about
Yeah.
your country's independence? That's bad.
Unfortunately.
uh, okay. All right.
In terms of consumption, I think we are a net importer
Okay.
than what we export.
Okay.
In terms of, yeah, usually, and on the things that we export, we usually export raw materials, not finished products. So
Okay. All right. So,
yeah.
right. Okay. Now, okay. What we were doing, like, we became much, uh, of course, like we are a much older country than most of you countries are. And we started this in the 80s. We started slowly, we started changing a lot of things in our country. And now predominantly we are a private led economy, like the private sector leads the economy. The government sector is there only in very very few areas. The government sector is there, otherwise it's entirely in the hands of the private sector. Now, moving to globalization, Anthony Giddens, he talks about the intensification of worldwide social relations, which link distant localities in such a way that local happenings are shaped by events occurring many miles away and vice versa. So, yesterday also we were talking about yesterday also we were talking that how trade has started affecting us, and like how integrated the world economy has become. And like what we are doing right now, who would have thought that we could have a class where people from various countries would come and the teacher would be sitting somewhere else and having classes. Now this is again a part of globalization, because this is what globalization has enabled us. So and of course there is an economic connotation to all these things. Like when if IGNU is running a program for the African countries, there is there are economic repercussions to this as well. So uh, yes, it will help in better relations with the countries, and of course then that translates into better trade relations, and that translates into the well-being of both the countries who are involved in that. So globalization is basically an economic phenomena which increases interaction or integration of national economic systems through the growth in international trade, investment, and capital flows. And of course, what globalization did was that it integrated the Indian economy with the world economy. So we became a part of that entire thing, because till 1990s we were more like what you people are talking about, Malawi or Nigeria, that we were more government run. It was more into the hands of the government. The government was looking after the business and everything. And we were we were doing a lot of trade. It was not that we were not doing a lot of trade, but we had a lot of tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade. That means we were trading only with the countries with whom we had good political relationships. And we were not opening up our economy to the extent to which yeah, they wanted. So we were not there. But it's only in the 1990s, and especially after the WTO, that we opened up our economy. And of course we have taken a lot of care in ensuring that we do not collapse like the economies of Argentina or Mexico or the Southeast Asian countries in the 90s when they collapsed. So we took time, we took our own measures, we did it in bits and pieces. We did not open up the economy entirely. And there are still a lot of checks and balances that are there to ensure that the crash doesn't take place. So what are the parameters of globalization? That how do you say that the economy is globalized? So we talk about a reduction of trade barriers, creation of an environment in which free flow of capital can take place, creation of an environment permitting free flows of technology, and there is free movement of labor. Now, out of all these things, uh, the most like the least happening is this, the free movement of labor, because this if like this doesn't take place so easily. All these, the rest of the things that you're seeing, they all take place very quickly when integration takes place. And of course we are talking about reducing the trade barriers, because as per the WTO directives, it says that the people, and because it's a statutory body, that means it's a legal body. So the countries have to uh, they need to adhere to the rules of WTO, and they cannot have unjust trade barriers. So like if you're not allowing a country to trade with you, there has to be a very good reason for that. So you have to invoke the legislations or the articles of WTO, like according to which you are taking an action. So yeah, but we are seeing that there are countries with whom you might not be having very good political relations, but you might have very good trade relations. Like India and China, we don't have very good political relations, but our trade is carrying on. Like we are the largest importer from China. And so yes, those are the parameters. Now in India, if we are talking about, then we encouraged foreign investment, we encouraged foreign technology. Of course, we reduced the import duties because we wanted to make trade more easy. Now, if we talk about if we are talking about the timeline, and what the government did was that In 1997, they removed the restrictions on 162 items of imports. 69 of them were in the special license, special import license category, and they were allowed to import whatever they wanted and how much ever they wanted. So this is basically a timeline that you can see that 1990 import duties were 300% or more for several items, and above 200% for many items. By April 2021, all the quantitative restrictions have been removed. So you now do not have quantitative restrictions. You can now import as much as you can, as you want. So mm, let me see. Godfrey,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
yeah, you are from which country, Godfrey? Godfrey, you are from which country?
I'm from Malawi.
Okay, okay. So just a second. Your country does maximum trade with which country?
Yeah, we do that. There's some sort of block borders like SADC. Uh, that's what the one we which we normally use to trade in with
Hmm.
the other countries like
No,
Tanzania. Sorry.
okay, Tanzania. Tanzania is your
Yes.
biggest partner.
Yeah, Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, all the countries
Okay,
which has the neighboring countries we are doing the business with those countries.
all right. And is there a free movement of labor between these countries?
Yeah, because there's no much restrictions. Like people, they do move from Malawi to Zambia to Mozambique without any problem.
So you don't people don't require a visa to go for going to these countries?
Yeah, sometimes they do
Huh.
require that if they go
Huh.
for, or that is a professional what? Professional a positions, that is professional work. But when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to this local labor, I don't think they do require that such requirements of visa and the like of the documents.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's more of porous borders, like whoever wants, they can go from one country to another.
Yeah, sure. Even Zambia, the Grace can accept that because more Malawians are in Zambia and the Zambians are in Malawi. Even Mozambicans, we have lots of Mozambicans. Even the Blues, they are doing business in Malawi without any challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Grace has not joined today, I suppose. Uh, Grace is enjoying her Sunday.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so okay, like because in India, that is what I wanted to understand. Because in India, what is there is that uh, we have got free movement of capital, we have got free movement of technology, but we do not have free movement of labor because labor from India is moving to other countries. A lot of people are migrating to Canada, to America, to Australia, to Italy, to these Arabic countries like Saudi Arabia is there. Then the Emirates is there. Dubai is there. So we have got a lot of people who go, but it's like we cannot we cannot go to Bangladesh just like that. We cannot go to Pakistan. Like these are the neighboring countries. Nepal, yes, we have got that open border. We People can come and go from Nepal. Bhutan is also like with Bhutan also we have got very good relationship. So there also the movement of labor is quite like frequent and in abundance. But yeah, so in because I suppose we are not trading that much with our neighboring countries as we are trading with countries far off. So there is this free movement of labor is not taking place. Of course, there is free movement of capital and technology that is happening now. Coming back, we we like, because of globalization, we have been promoting FDI, which is basically the foreign direct investment, and there are three routes to it. There is an automatic route, there is a government route, and then there is the combination of automatic route and the government route. So FDI, if we are talking in terms of data, FD, this was the inflow in India, 2000, in 2015 16, 2016 17, and then 17 18 we had that, and for the financial year 2018 19 it was $62 billion dollars. um, in 2019 20 74 billion investments we had that. And again, these are facts which might not be of too much interest for you. Now, how did we encourage the foreign technology agreement? So, the 1991 policy, which is also known as the new economic policy. So, the new economic policy had a lot of provisions to it. And so, there are certain industries which use this technology extensively. So, for them, it was like the automatic permission was given up to the payment of 1 crore rupees. So, if you were paying less than 1 crore rupees to any company for foreign technology, for foreign technology agreements, then you did not require any like you did not need permission for it. Then there was 5% royalty of for domestic sales, 8% for exports, subject to total payments of 8% sales over a 10-year period. So these are the rules and regulations that were there for the foreign technology agreement. Automatic permission will be given if no foreign exchange were required for any payment. No permission will be necessary for hiring of foreign technicians and foreign testing of indigenously developed technologies. So if you are developing a technology in India and you want to test it somewhere else, you can go ahead and do it. You do not need to seek the permission of the government. Now, what is privatization? That's the third component that we have. Uh, what about privatization in your countries? Like how good or bad the situation is? How good or bad the situation is in terms of privatization? Yes, Osman.
Yes, afternoon, ma.
Yeah, afternoon, Osman. How are you?
I'm fine, ma. And you?
I'm doing good. And what is the state? What is the state of privatization in your country?
Yes, firstly, I want to understand the privatization
Hmm.
before I can answer the question.
Acha, okay, you want to know. Okay, let's talk about privatization. So, all right, then you can come in. Privatization
Okay.
basically means, yeah, privatization basically means when you are shifting some businesses from the public sector to the private sector. Like in India, telecom was in the hands of the public sector, was in the hands of the government. So we had Department of Telecommunications, which was looking after the entire this telephone thing. But in the 90s, this sector opened up and the private industries came in. And now the government sector is lagging behind. It's like Reliance Jio, which is the largest network in India right now. Then we have followed by Airtel, and then we have got a joint venture between Idea and Vodafone. So so that is what privatization is. So privatization is basically when you are handing over the sectors which were reserved for the public sector to the private sector, or yeah, you are transferring a business from the public sector to the private sector. So both ways privatization can take place. So now, if you can just answer that.
Okay, ma.
Mm,
Here in Nigeria, like the India you said,
mm,
the telecommunication is transferred from government to private sector,
mm,
and agricultural sector as well.
mhm,
Even though the government can invest or can assist the farmers to harvest their properties, or the things that they are
All right.
doing.
Okay.
Let me add to what
Uh-huh.
Usman says based on the privatization, and
Mm-hmm.
it happens.
Good.
The electricity regulatory
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 something was
Uh-huh.
monitored by the public sector. That it was formerly known as NEPA in Nigerian.
Oh,
So along the way, it was privatized.
okay. Like in
So
India
our
also, all the, not in all the states, but in few states, electricity has been privatized. Now the private players are supplying the electricity in place of the government.
yes, I don't know is it nationwide or part of Nigeria, but it is privatized. Our electricity is
Oh,
privatized presently.
Yes,
Uh,
it's all the electricity has been privatized in Nigeria
yeah, Suleiman, go ahead.
according to the reason.
Oscar.
Yeah, Suleiman, go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm good. I'm
So
good.
I want to talk about this privatization.
Uh-huh.
Privatization in Nigeria has done more bad than good in within the country, because like my friends are saying regarding NEFA.
Uh-huh.
So in a country whereby the minimum wage is 30 or 30,000 naira,
Uh.
which is equivalent to less than 400 or 4,000 rupees in India.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 30,000 naira is equivalent to almost 4,000 rupees in India.
Okay.
Because now the rate is almost 7 point something.
Uh-huh.
1 rupees to naira is 7 point something. So if you
Okay.
can calculate, you will see
Mm-hmm.
it is not even. So talking about privatization,
Mm-hmm.
like currently what is going on in the country,
Mm-hmm.
government universities are about to be privatized to private universities.
Mm-hmm.
So if this thing happen, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of citizens in Nigeria won't be able to attend universities due to this current situation of economy,
Mm-hmm.
whereby you will find a family where their parents are earning not more than 15,000 naira, which is equivalent to almost maybe 5,000 to 6,000 rupees,
Mm-hmm.
while the universities are requesting you to pay for like 200 to 300,000 naira annually. So it will
Okay.
be a bit difficult for the citizens to attend.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I suppose somebody else was also trying to say something. I suppose, was it Abdul Majid who wanted to add? There was somebody else while Suleiman was speaking. Somebody else wanted to make a statement. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I
Because
want
now
to ask.
we are getting 1 liter of petroleum at around 300 and something naira. And once they remove the subsidy, it will be around 800,000 naira per rupees. So it will be
Okay.
very
All
difficult
right.
for a citizen to keep enjoying this sector. So privatization in Nigeria has done more bad than good to the citizens.
All right. All right. Yes, Abdul Majid, carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what my fellow Nigerians have said.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the issue of NEPA
Mm-hmm.
uh, and epileptic power supply. We don't even have 24/7 power supply.
Mm-hmm.
When it was NEPA,
Mm-hmm.
that Nigerian Electricity Power Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is privatized the PHCN Power Holding Company of Nigeria, there's no much different. In fact, it's even worse off.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, my phone will soon go off. I don't know. Uh, I think when it was government owned, it was a bit better. So I'm thinking, is there a place that in between privatization and being a total public holding, like then the government can transfer the ownership to private, but still monitor the privatized industries to ensure that they are giving the best service to the citizen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll come to it. Let us hear what Kofi wants to say. Kofi also had raised his hand. Kofi, go ahead.
Okay, I I wanted to say something little about Ghana.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Ghana is not too different from Nigeria, but when you look at privatization, when you look at the benefit and the whole idea around privatization, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to Ghana, the government is overburdened with a lot of responsibilities. So sometimes the government encourages privatization. But like my colleagues from Nigeria were saying, when they transfer the public companies into, or they make them into private companies,
Mm-hmm.
you realize that the product or whichever services that they render becomes very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, you realize that it's not able to, more or less, it brings a lot of burden on the citizens. So even though the government sometimes want to lay off some of the responsibilities, citizens sometimes don't encourage it or support it, because at the end of the day, it brings a lot of burden on the citizens. You can't pay for the services the private companies sometimes render to us.
All right. Anybody else who wants to add? Yeah, Kamis, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof, for giving me this opportunity to also talk again. I would like to talk on the privatization,
Mm-hmm.
and my colleagues from Nigeria also talked much about it. And I know basically for everything there must be advantage and disadvantage. But here in Nigeria, what we are facing during the process of privatization, which
Mm-hmm.
cause majority of the populations not to support that, is because in the process of moving from public sector to private sector is that there is massive issue of fraud,
Mm-hmm.
which this is not very transparent even to the public, and there is no price control, that is regulation.
Mm-hmm.
One of our co-class members says that during the process of this electricity privatization, well, there is more improvement in terms of the duration that we get the power supply and all that, but there is also huge hike in the price that we
Mm-hmm.
pay, causes more damage and more unnecessary expenditures to the less privileged people that are basically not earning the basic salary or minimum wage. So this private sector actually causes more damage and harm to majority of the populace in the country. But it is it is it is very important that we know that private sector also used to improve the supply of goods and services in major aspect.
Mm-hmm. All right. Masumba wants to speak, and Asad Mustafa also want to speak. So you people can decide who wants to go first. Uh, Masumba, let's hear from you, and then I'll come to Asad.
All right.
Sorry,
In my
sorry, Masumba.
in
Chipromoter, sorry to intervene. Sorry, ma'am.
Huh.
Grace is trying to log in, but she's failing. So I just want to ask, is it possible that you can log her in?
Yeah, if I
She
can't
has
see,
been trying.
I cannot see her, but Farida.
Oh, okay. I'm also not seeing her, but she says she's trying. But
Yeah, I can't see her because I right now somebody entered. I opened it for them, but like if I can see her, I'll enter her.
It's like she's
oh,
having issues with the link. Also,
Uh, if somebody could just share the link with her on WhatsApp, just
it's been
copy it
shared.
from here.
Someone has just shared it.
On the WhatsApp
Okay,
group, she can use the link in the WhatsApp group.
right. Okay, right. So yes, Musumba, let's hear you, and then I'll come to Asad.
yeah, well, listening to my Nigerian colleagues here
Hmm.
in coffee there, well, private, as Kamis was saying, you've got the advantages and disadvantages. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
How, I would like to think that what they say is one of the objective of privatization is that you want to bring in more efficiency in the industries. Yeah. However, this has worked in countries in the West. For instance, the American economy, you can tell how efficient they are. The downside of it is that when there's government in the market, government tends to control things. So pricing is reasonable to the citizen, as Kamis and other people are saying. However, when you bring in the private players, it means you also have to fix the economy so that people should be able to pay for the services.
Okay.
However, that's
Yeah.
not the case in Africa. So yeah,
I'll try to draw an analogy with India later on. Let us Asad go ahead.
okay.
Hello, madam.
Yeah. Hi.
Uh, as Kamis and Chubulumus said, there is positive and negative things. But here in Sudan, like telecommunication is handled by private sectors, and electricity is still handled by government. So
Okay.
I think it is for government should control the main things that all people or most people need, like electricity, education, and health care. And if this main thing handled by private sector, I think can go for places we can't imagine, because private sector deal with calculation. We need profit. Just uh, opposite for government need service for its people, something like that. So you can divide it between state and private sector.
Okay.
That's what I.
Okay. Good. Suleiman. Yeah. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Suleiman.
Yeah. I just want to add to what my colleague said from Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, recently in my state, but that's Bauchi State of Nigeria, the state government has recently privatized some state assets and organizations,
Mm.
and they are about up to six organizations, which include hotels, meat factory, and uh, uh, Bauchi Furniture Company, among others. Yes,
Okay.
it is happening. And they did that in order to create job for the teeming youths in the state.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, do you
Yeah.
favor privatization, or do you feel that it's not working?
Yes, it is good because
Okay.
organization has become a burden to the state government
Okay. All
in
right.
this situation.
I tend to disagree with what
Yeah.
he says,
Huh.
because if we look at the process of privatizing it, the process is actually not as transparent as we ought to have. It was covered and not sent out to the public to hear the public views of this privatization, and it's actually 100% privatization, which we as the citizens of the state actually wanted the government to have a percentage of the privatization or shares in, in such investment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I think there is a little bit problem in the aspect of such companies that the state government privatize.
Okay.
Yes, but
Uh,
even if they didn't privatize it,
uh,
so some huge of money are being shared to the ghost worker within those organizations.
okay. Let us hear Usman and Asad again. Usman and like Asad.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I want to add some light about the privatization
Mm-hmm.
because some of my friends misunderstood the privatization. I think my privatization is totally acquiring 100%,
Mm.
transferring business from government to the private sector. But here,
Hmm.
I heard my friend talk
Hmm.
about the sharing. There is
Hmm.
some there is some organization that government did not privatize all.
Uh-huh.
They sold some fat like a share to
Hmm.
maybe private sector acquiring
That is all. That is
60%.
Osman. That is also privatization. Disinvestment. You can go for privatization through disinvestment as well. So, yeah, that is also privatization. They did not. They have not misunderstood it. It's absolutely right. That is also part of privatization.
So that means I mean
Yeah, yeah. No issues. Yeah, Harun,
so
go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, ma.
Yeah, good
So
afternoon.
actually about the concept whether privatization or a system has to be run by government, actually I go for privatization because here in Nigeria I can cite so many examples
Mm-hmm.
of where such kind of issues are being in place. For
Mm-hmm.
example, in Nigeria I can see that during the onset of the telecommunication,
Mm-hmm.
there is a telecommunication company owned by Nigerian government in the name of MTEL or NITEL.
Mm-hmm.
That one that has been solely owned by government and has been
Mm-hmm.
run by government.
Mm-hmm.
But all of us that are here and that are from Nigeria, they can bear witness that that NITEL was this, they have started very well, but
Mm-hmm.
because it is being managed by government, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of feeling that this is my property, everybody there will feel that it is a property of government.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there is a problem, the problem can be handled by government, not from his own pocket or from the profits that has been realized. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, there is kind of proper handling of such business in such kind of situation. But in the other hand, when investors or when private sectors like MTN, Airtel, and the rest came, it has been so long and they have been into the business and they are still propelling because it is private organizations. It has to do with profits. At the end of every year, they will make calculations to see that whether they are running in profit or lost. So actually, as far as I'm concerned, the major concern of the government is to pay attention on the
Mm-hmm.
policies that will bring hand of the foreign investors or internal or local investors, so that governments should say that this is the business that we want to run, and
Mm-hmm.
these are the policies that are around the business. So the investor and the persons that want to put his share in the business will look at the policies. If they are so aromatic to him, if they are so making sense to him, then they can. It is a mutual understanding and contract. This is our bargain from the government side, and this is what we want. If the two of you agree, then
Mm-hmm.
fine and good. So actually, that is my own input, because if government say that it will handle everything, it will be too much of a burden on the government. So I go by the fact that government should pay attention much on making policies and controlling them. That is, government should make policy and try to evaluate them and follow them up, while
Mm-hmm.
private sector should be running the business and implementing the policies as far as business policies concerned that has been made by government. This is my
Mm-hmm.
input, ma'am.
Okay, Asad. Asad, you also wanted to say something. You had raised your hand.
No, just I
Acha,
said this.
acha,
I forget to.
acha. Okay, okay, no issues. Uh, all right. Anybody else who wants to make a statement? Grace finally has joined.
Yeah, yes, bro. Can I say something?
Okay. Right. Sorry for that because the electricity went out. So, right. I was okay. So, anybody else who wants to put in their inputs? Otherwise, like we have had a lot of inputs from Nigeria and from the other parts. Like anybody else who would want to add in something, or otherwise, uh, we can try to sum it up.
Yeah, I just wanted to conclude based on our issue here in Nigeria.
Huh.
It's a well fact that the major problem in private sector in Nigeria here is the price control regulations. That is number one, and the policies were there,
Mm.
and lack of implementations also affect the private sector. That is my conclusions.
Okay. All right. Uh, Basically, look now. You can everybody can have their own take on whether you require privatization or you do not require privatization. Is it good for the economy, bad for the economy? The matter of fact is that because all of us are now members of WTO, we have to have a private sector which is very strong and robust. So there are no two ways about it. That even China, which has got which is basically a socialist country, has also joined the WTO. Like it was forced to join the WTO, and it also has a private sector, which is, of course, there's a lot of state control there, but yeah, there's a lot of privatization which has taken place in China as well. Now, the question is that how well this is being managed. Like, how well are you managing your the private sector, and how much of crony capitalism do you have it, and how much of it is being uh, like uh, how much of it is being properly managed is the question. Now, if I draw an analogy with India, in 1991, when we opened up our economy, there was a lot of debate that was going on, that whether it is good or bad for the economy, and a lot of we had a lot of newspaper articles, research papers, which talked to and like for and against the motion regarding privatization and globalization. But again, slowly, what has happened is that because of privatization, the number of companies have gone up. As the number of companies went up, the number of people employed went up, and the aspirations of the people have changed a lot, and it gave rise to a new rich section in the society, who are all young people in their barely in their late 20s, early 30s, who are making millions, who are making money in millions, and suddenly that became the entire game plan, and that became the entire narrative, that if you have the private sector in place, you give wings to the aspirations of the people, you give them jobs, you make them work hard, and they earn well, and they give back to the economy because start spending a lot, so the consumption goes up. Consumption for real estate goes up, consumption for your FMCG products goes up, consumption for the automobile sector goes up. So, because of all these things, you have a very fast growing, robust economy. Uh, the downside of this entire thing that happened in India, just a second, I'm just checking whether my Wi-Fi has started working or not. No, it has still not started working. Okay, so the downside of it was that uh, the government started withdrawing itself from the basic services which was not properly handled by the private sector. So, especially education and health. So, in education, I speak, um, the like So yeah, again issues. Uh, Now the issue has been that the private sector in terms of education, if I'm talking, the private sector has done a lot of good because it has taken education to the masses, which was which the public sector was also doing, but it was not as successful as the private sector has been, especially in terms of, like, I don't know about your country. In my country there is this great like people are very much hooked to English medium schools. So everybody wants to send their kids to English medium schools. So even the maids who are working at your places, they also want to send their kids to public to these English medium schools, and the public run schools are all in regional language. So they don't want to send their kids there in spite of the government giving them like there are so many facilities that the government is giving. So now what uh, the government sector is now doing is like in the capital city of Delhi, there has been a very good experiment that has been done by that state government. They have started making the public sector schools as efficient as the private schools by by making them more attractive, by giving a lot of skills to the students, by making them computer savvy, and so Delhi has become become a very good role model for the rest of the country. Now coming to health is one area where again we are very much dependent on the private sector because the government sector doesn't work, like, it is overburdened. It doesn't have enough number of doctors and hospitals to cater to the masses, and that is where the private sector has come in. So you can say that they are cohabiting, but yes, the out of pocket expenses is very, very high. If you talk about the telecommunication sector, the private sector has done extremely well. uh, if I talk about automobiles, again, the private sector is doing extremely well. Real estate has always been in the private sector, so that is doing very well. So, uh, the issue what you people are talking about, especially in terms of Nigeria, because most of you spoke in terms of Nigeria, I suppose the problem there in Nigeria is that of governance, and it is not the problem of privatization per se. Like, you cannot say that privatization is good or privatization is bad. It is basically the policy making that is at fault. Somebody spoke about America and what America has done. Now, like, you have to understand that America is a capitalist country. They have always had this private sector there, and they have always encouraged the private sector. The very good thing about America is that its institutions are very, very strong. So you might be anybody, but you can be taken to the court if you do not follow the rules and regulations. So you cannot, you can do only up, like, of course, corruption is there in America as well, but but that corruption has not percolated to the at the lowest level. One. Second, the institutions are so strong that you can manage them, but you can manage them only up to a certain level. After that, it starts operating on its own and things get cleaned up. The issue with countries like Nigeria, with Ghana, with India, with Malawi is that our institutions are not very strong. And because our institutions are not very strong, the private sector gets away with a lot of bloodbath without following the rules, because it knows that there's, like, I know somebody at the upper echelons and they will help me out, and I need not pay for the faults that I have committed. And that is where the problem is. Like in India, we had one of the worst industrial uh, accidents, the Union Carbide accident that happened in 1984. In 1984, we had it's known as the Bhopal gas tragedy. Like, if you Google it, you'll find it. It's one of like, one is Chernobyl. We always speak about the Chernobyl incidents, and the Bhopal gas tragedy, the Union Carbide thing. That was again a very major thing. Now it was an American firm, and it got away with it. It did not pay the compensation which was asked for it. it did not look back into that place, and yeah, it got away with mass murder because people died in thousands in that tragedy. So the issue was not whether whether the company was doing well, whether the company had taken precautions or not. The problem was that fine, an accident can occur, an industrial accident can occur, should not occur, can occur. But the thing is that the state has the onus of protecting its citizens. The problem comes when the state does not take that onus. So that is where the entire thing goes. And mind, like, you you have to remember this thing, that privatization, whether you like it, you dislike it, privatization is how the economy is going to go forward, whether it's your economy, whether it's my economy. It is that way only that it is going to, because the WTO rules have been made in such a manner, the way the countries are all collaborating with each other, that it is the government sector is not in a position to do carry out those things. So I think so. What I said, you can you can have a look of it in your own economies, and you can see that whether it's the companies which are at fault, or it's the government policy which is at fault. So I think so. You will then understand that how it is playing out. So if people in Nigeria are earning very less, and if the private sector is hiking the prices, then you have to like you have to see that how what it is, like why is it happening. And I very much agree to what Chipalvatsu was talking about, that you have to, like, if you have gone for privatization, then the privatization has to create that much of wealth in the economy, it has to create that many jobs in the economy that everybody can afford it. So it cannot enter the market, it cannot take advantage of all the things that are there, and then not generate that much of business. If that like if that is happening, then that is not correct, right? Grace, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah, finally you made it.
Yes, with a bit of struggle, but yes, I did. I hope I didn't miss so much.
No, we were discussing, like, because I was talking a lot about the Indian economy, which I know is not of very much interest for you people, because of course I don't know like how good you people are with economic history. Like I am somebody who loves economic history, so for me it is like it's a lot of fun for me to read about, to hear about your countries, and to gather that information. But if you are not interested much into this, then it becomes a bit boring for you, that I am talking about the economy of yeah. So that is uh, yeah, that is how it works. So you have not missed much in terms of that. Yeah.
No, I love this course. I love the discussion around privatization. I think it's almost similar um, here in Zambia.
Hmm.
The private sector usually get away with a lot of misdeeds, and I'm glad the government is coming on with penalties for private sector, especially where I'm working.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't align with the regulatory requirements, so
Hmm.
we're slapped with fines quite a number of times.
Okay. That's good to hear, that if that is happening. So that is so good to hear that like yeah, because otherwise you get away with a lot of things, like in India. I suppose that's the same in your case also, because we have had this issue of crony capitalism for long. For the past 30 years almost, we have had crony capitalism, where some companies get close to the people in power, and then they misuse that, and uh, they become rich, and day by day their valuation increases, and that creates a lot of disparity in the economy. So you have that difference between the haves and the have nots goes up drastically. and which is not good for an economy, because like right now also Oxfam came out with a report, and like for India it came out with a report on inequality, and it told that the lower 50% are paying like the lower half 50, like the bottom 50% is paying 63% of the GST. Now that doesn't make sense, because uh, if the bottom half has to pay 63% of the taxes, the GST, then why should they not get a bigger pie, bigger part of the pie in terms of development budgets? So like when it comes, like if you're talking about public goods, you have things like, say, free transportation, you have things like free education, you have things like free electricity, and you speak to people, and everybody tells that the government should cut its budget and it should not give that much amount of money for these things, because there's no point of making the poor, like there's no point of spending money on the poor people, because they are not contributing to the economy. It makes sense to spend on people who are contributing to the economy. So if this like I am strongly against this, because I feel that if you can make them pay the GST, if you can ask them to pay all these things, then why should they not get a bigger a bigger chunk of that pie of development? So allocate them these budgets, and it helps you to make your economy grow in a much better way. Because you can, the issue is that right now your entire global geopolitics has become in such a manner where you are so obsessed with the growth rate. So every country is in a hurry to show that their GDP growth rate is very good, and in that doing that, it is not looking at the allocations of that GDP, that how is that GDP getting allocated. That question is remaining unanswered, and because it is remaining unanswered, therein comes these issues of inequality, therein comes the issues of gender inequality. Even with the SDG, like the 17 goals of SDG, if you look at no hunger, no poverty, so quality education, gender parity, where does your country and my country stand there? We are very far behind in terms of HDI. We are far behind in terms of global gender index. We are far behind in the multidimensional poverty index. So we are not there, and we know that privatization is the only way. Like that we have made peace with that fact that we cannot expect the state to run the economy. But yes, the state needs to run the administration, and it has to look into those things. And so gender parity has to be there. So if you are giving free, like in India, in a lot of states you'll find free transportation for women. So if a woman is using, if a lady is using the buses, she doesn't have to pay for it. Now there was again a very big hue and cry, especially by my male fellow members, that like this is out of place and the government should not be doing it, and they said that it's cheap politics. But if you go out in the if you go out in the field and you meet women, and there are a lot of girls who drop out from higher studies because their parents don't have the money to pay for their transportation, and whatever money they have in that, the boy of the family gets a priority. And so they prefer sending their boys to schools, and the girls have to drop out. So there are so many such issues where especially in terms of public goods, where the government like if the government is paying for these public goods, it is of course there's always a problem of free rider problem. But that free rider problem can be solved if you manage your things properly, if you see to it that it is being given to the people who require it. Like in Punjab, the state from where I am, like where I am working. I'm not from the state, but yes, I am working in the state. That we are like the Punjab government is giving 300 units of free electricity to everybody. Now that has been questioned because everybody does not require 300 units of free electricity. So here, this burden of the government can be brought down because you give it to people who require it. Do not give it free to everybody. Rather use that electricity for industrial purpose. So yeah, there are these issues of privatization and globalization that are there, like in all parts of the world. Yes, but countries like yours and mine, we are much, like we are paying a higher price than the developed countries are doing. Yeah, so this is privatization. So as I was saying that Usman had a confusion that uh, does disinvestment lead to privatization? So please remember that disinvestment is a form of privatization, that the government starts selling its shares and the private sector buys it, like it has happened in case of banking in India. So we had 20 banks which were owned by the government. Right now it's only 4 banks where the government has got a majority stock. Otherwise, all the other banks have been privatized. So, yeah, so that is also a way of privatization. So you have got ownership measures, you've got organizational measures, and then you've got the operational measures of ownership. So it is basically how much share, the percentage share the private sector has, that is what matters. So you have got total decentralization, you have got joint venture, you've got liquidation, you've got workers cooperative. So this is about the ownership measures, that you have workers cooperative. In India, it has not happened. I don't know about your countries. You people can tell me whether there's a workers cooperative in your country. In my country, there are no workers cooperative. We don't have this concept here. Then comes the organizational measures. So organizational measures, we are talking about holding company, which takes up, which deals with the major decisions, and then you have got the operating company, which looks into the day-to-day affair of it. So you have got the holding company concept, you've got the leasing concept. Like the government transfers its assets to the private sector. Then you have got restructuring. So you that means you are allowing the private sector to come in. So you're writing off the debts. Then there is basic restructuring that is happening, and then comes your operational measures. So in the operational measures, we talk about grant of autonomy, provision of incentive for workers and executives, freedom to assert certain inputs from the markets, development of proper criteria for investment planning, permission to public enterprises to raise resources from the capital market. So these are all ways, operational measures, where you are going in for privatization. So now if we want to evaluate our reform, so again, this is very India centric that we are talking about. And this is the ex like on your screens, whom you are seeing, he's the ex-president of India, KR Narayanan. And he said that there is a consensus in the world today that economic development is not all, and GDP is not necessarily a measure of progress of a society. So as I was talking that there is this great obsession with growth. And all the countries are talking about mm, going for double digit growth rate of the GDP. They are talking about increasing the GDP. It's all about the GDP, but the developmental factors, people are not talking, that how equal your society is, how educated your society is, how well the health infrastructure is being maintained, how much are you spending in terms of connectivity, how inclusive your growth is. I would like to know your views on inclusion in your countries. Like, how inclusive are your countries? When I use the word inclusion, it means that how fair it is to people of both genders, how fair it is to people belonging to different faith, how fair it is to people belonging to different class, how fair it is to people belonging to different tribes. Yes. Anybody can start the discussion. Yes, privatization, everybody spoke. Why not on inclusion? Khamis, let me ask you to start.
For now, I can't say anything until others speak first.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry for.
Grace, let me hear you. How inclusive your country is. Yes, Grace.
Mama, are you speaking to me?
Yes, I'm speaking to you. I'm asking you to let me know that how inclusive your country is. How
Wow.
gender neutral it is, how fair it is to people of different faiths, religious faiths.
I may say now we are accepting diversity
Mm,
slowly,
mm,
and there's more empowerment when it comes to the women, the feminine gender.
mhm.
Women are now taking a more masculine role in workplaces, in a lot of areas where women were disadvantaged. There's at least we've seen an improvement with regards to that.
Okay, and what about people from different tribes? Is your country a tribal country? Like, is it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, over the years, we have 73 tribes in Zambia. However, we have like five predominant or distinct tribes. Over the years, the presidents that we've had have been coming mostly from the northern and the eastern side. So now we've had a president from the southern side. Because of that, there was this rivalry, some rivalry between what I can call the Bemba tribe and then the Tonga, because our current president is Tonga. So
Okay.
now the Tongas are ruling, and there's a lot of we want to pretend it's not there,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some some tribal wars underneath. We can see people now people from the southern tribe are taking more seats in government, and that's something that this government used to talk about against, but we're seeing it replicating. And there's this assertive, it's I can see it's latent, but it's there, it's there.
Okay, so you are saying that gender-wise it has improved, but in terms of tribal inclusion, it's not till there. Like it's still
Yes, it's still, it's subtle,
huh,
but it's there. I
okay.
think we just don't talk about it, it's there.
All right. And what about class differences? The upper class and the lower class.
Well, you can see that it's very distinctive. We
Mm-hmm.
have a few of the high class people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think the majority are the low class. The medium, quite a few, but there's a distinction really.
Mm-hmm.
You can even see in the way areas are partitioned and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Good. Good to hear. Who will Vasant? What about your country?
Yes, ma'am. So we have been inclusive, uh, like for let's say after our independence, we have gradually progressed. There is no like like, how would you say? I mean, historically, we haven't been through a bad phase of not being inclusive as a
Okay,
society.
great.
But then, and for the past 10, 15 years, we have also, now because we are, I mean, we are an island, but we're exposed internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to adopt what is happening outside as well. I mean, the inclusion of people with disabilities into work,
Okay, great.
the recruitment into all types of jobs, be it customer service, be it the hotel industry, the parastatal
Mm.
bodies, even the government.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one. And secondly, because I'm a teacher, I'm gonna talk about inclusive education as well. So no
Great.
one. It's been 5 years now.
Mm.
The government have worked quite robustly towards not leaving anyone behind, if I may sum it up that way.
Mm-hmm.
So even pupils with low academic grades,
Mm.
slow learners, with disabilities,
Mm.
everyone is being given their chance, and the society, the government,
Mm.
everyone here is working towards making including them in our progress, so that no one is left behind. Yes, there are some glitches here and there,
Mm.
involuntary ones,
Mm.
because a system can't be 100% perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at least more than 95% have been included into all the facets of our economy, the education, and yeah, nearly everything. And we are it's a work in progress. It's not going to stop here. There's no end to this. It's just that a path that we have to continue doing.
In terms of
Continue.
in terms
Yeah.
of religion, like it's so good to hear, and especially you as a
Mhm,
as an educator talking about inclusive education. That's great. What about
mhm.
people of different faith? Which is there a state religion? Does state have a religion?
And no, no, there's no. I mean, we are like a multiracial, multifaceted island. There's no
Okay,
like a state religion.
so
Everyone is free to practice.
it's a secular country.
Yeah, secular state. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, it's a secular word. Everyone is free to practice, and no, the laws are here so as not to discriminate anyone from any different religious backgrounds.
Okay, and
Yeah.
okay, and what about the LGBTQ rights?
Yeah, this one has I mean, it's been there since like 10 years or something. They're working. I mean, it's here. No, they have no issues. Everyone lives freely here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not included in the law yet, like
Okay.
for allowing
Mm.
LGBT marriages.
Marriages. Okay, same-sex marriages
Yeah,
has
but
not been
then
allowed.
same
Okay,
sex.
all right.
Yeah, it's not like it's not allowed, but it's not. There's no provision in the law.
Okay, means yeah. So
Yeah,
like legally, you might be action might be taken because there's no law for it. Okay, so right.
yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
mhm. Okay, great, great. But it's so good to hear that your country is so inclusive. Great to hear that. Khamis, you had raised your
Excellent.
hand. Yeah.
Yes, since others have talked, I feel like it's my time now to also talk. Well, as you all know, Nigeria is a very diverse country, even in Africa, which has about 500 and something plus languages and 200 plus, 250 plus ethnic groups, and well cultured, and
Hmm.
we hold on to our cultural values like
Mm-hmm.
nevertheless like any other African country, uh, we are let me use we are against this LGBT community because
Okay.
it has been written in our constitution that we are against it by the law. And in terms of
Okay.
equality, uh, right of girl child education
Hmm.
and privilege have been put in place. And a lot of NGOs came into the country advocating for girl child education and also for the adoption of advocating for many positions to women in society, which actually is producing more positive results. For instance, in one of the states in Kaduna, we have first deputy governor in the northern part of the state, and
Hmm.
also currently we have a woman contesting for state governor of a particular state also, and
Okay. Great.
Nigeria is also a secular state. uh, is allowed to practice his religious and is expected to respect the faith of other people. That, that is all for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Khamis. Harun, go ahead.
Okay, ma, thank you.
Mm.
Actually, I want to add on what Khamis has already put.
Mm.
And actually, as far as Nigeria is concerned, and I want to talk about it in three views:
Mhm.
political point of view, then educational point of view,
Mhm.
and then lastly, maybe general point of view or a religious point of view.
Okay.
Well, from political perspective, actually in Nigeria,
Mhm.
I can say right from the time of independence to date,
Mm.
I can say that actually we don't have problem with segregation as far as whether this one comes from the minority or from the majority, because I can remember
Mm.
um, uh, clearly that even our first prime minister of the country,
Mm.
Tafawa Balewa, is
Mm.
from Bauchi, and even from Bauchi, he is from minority. I can remember that one very clearly. And
Okay.
also Yakubu Gowon, one of our head of state previously, he
Mhm.
is also head of, and also he is from minority.
Mhm.
Even recently, our former president, Goodluck
Mm.
Ebele Jonathan, is
Mm.
also from minority.
Mhm.
If you look at it, if the majority people of the Nigeria or the northern part of Nigeria, the Hausa people,
Mm.
hardly if you count among the number of residents that came
Mm.
from that part of the region, hardly
Mhm.
you can see 20% that are purely Hausa, but rather there are
Mhm.
other groups, there are other minority tribes within the region. So
Okay.
actually, in Nigeria, from political point of view,
Mhm.
it is it's personality related. If
Mhm.
someone is able to break through and make himself very valuable to the extent that people will see that value in him, actually Nigerians, they don't have problem with going to him.
Okay. Mm.
Problem that somebody may have when he came from minority is that when he come up with an interest
Mm.
that goes against the interest of the majority,
Mm.
so actually, in that regard, I don't think he will scale through.
Mhm.
And I think that one is applicable to everywhere, not only Nigeria.
Mhm.
But actually, political point of view in Nigeria, we don't have a problem whether someone is
Mm.
from minority. And I have already cited some
Mm.
examples that
Mhm. Mhm.
I back my statement with that from political point. Even in my state, Kano State,
Mm.
there is we have a governor recently, Ibrahim Shekaro,
Mm.
and previous governor. He is also from the man. Not he is even immigrant. His father is even immigrant from another state, but he
Okay.
was able to be born in that state, rise up in the same state, to
Mhm.
the extent that people see him. He has a value that he will add to the state, and they
Mhm.
voted for him as a governor of the state,
Mhm.
and they also re-elect him. So, and he is a son of nobody. So,
Okay.
economic wise, even in Nigeria, even if you are a son of nobody,
Mm.
the issue of local the issue of you are from lower class or high class,
Mm.
actually it depends on somebody. If you feel yourself if you feel yourself inferiority,
Mhm.
if you add if you feel that you are a lower class, then you can remain a lower class. But
Mm.
even if you are from a lower class and you feel that I can make it, you can
Mhm.
still make it. You can break through the line. There are so many examples.
Okay.
My friends from Nigeria will testify to that. Even in our legislative house, that
Mhm.
is our house of representatives, there are so many people that they are even held, they are even rooted from villages where
Mhm.
their fathers are nobody. Even we have one Kazoro Gudaji, his father is nobody. There are a lot of them, but
Mhm.
so pass somebody rise off
Mhm.
and make him valuable and
Mhm.
try to go into the competition. Actually, Nigeria, he can make it. It just on a personal perspective. If someone feels that he can make it, he can make it. Even
Mhm.
our former president, Evb Jonathan, is a son of nobody, but
Mm.
he became a president of Nigeria. So it depends on personality. But
Mm.
actually, you have less threat as some society or this atmosphere will try to become an obstacle to you. No, someone has to be an obstacle to himself. So far you want to progress, you can progress. That's my input, man.
Okay. All right. Great. Great. Uh, Anybody else who wants to speak for their country? Anybody who wants to speak for their own country? No? Because like in India, we are an inclusive country. we have, though we crib a lot, that we are not inclusive enough. But I would agree to what Vasant was saying, that we are all a work in progress, because we have been doing a lot of things, but still there are a lot of things that needs to be done. So if we talk about it in Indian terms, like, I'm so proud that like, we are a secular country. Of course, there are skirmishes, there are issues, there are governments which favor a particular religion or things, that happens with every country in the world. So yeah, there are those issues, but then in terms of education, we are inclusive. So whether it's people with special needs, whether it's a girl child, whether we are talking about the third gender, so we have got a very inclusive education system. And so in the inclusion is a part of our education system. In terms of jobs, again, it's very, very inclusive. Even like, the laws have been made in such a manner that if you're making a building, and you have to have a ramp in that building. So like, if you're in making an educational institution, there have to be ramps there. If you're making a housing society, there have to be ramps, so that people with special needs can use them. So again, that shows that how inclusive your society is. In terms of caste, we are not there. Like, we need to work. So as Grace was saying, that um, people are talking about, like, in India, we are talking very loudly and very clearly about the caste discrimination, because that remains. There is the so-called upper caste and so-called lower caste is there, and there is a caste struggle that is going on in the country. And you can read about that. Like, there's a lot of literature that is out there on Indian caste system, and how it's not as bad as used to be. It is not as bad, say, 30 years back, 40 years back, it was very bad. Now it is not that bad, because there are laws for it. So if you're caught doing something which is like casteist in terms, you will be take like there's a law to take care of it. Same is the case in terms of sexual discrimination. So if a company or a person is held of sexual discrimination, there are laws to put that person in place. So we are progressing. Class difference again remains, because class differences have gone up. Like, the caste differences have come down, but the class differences have gone up, because there is a lot of concentration of wealth that is taking place. So as I was talking earlier, that we are so obsessed with growth, that we are not looking at the allocations of this growth, that how the growth is being allocated. Is it trickling down? Is it going down to the masses? Are people benefiting from it? So if that is not happening, then that gives rise to this problem of class divide. And yeah, in India, we have got a class divide, we have got a caste divide. A caste divide, we are much better off. In terms of gender also, we are much better off than earlier. Of course, it's not 100% gender parity is not there. We are far back in the gender parity index. But yeah, we have progressed. We are doing well as compared to earlier days. What was there earlier? So compared to that, we are doing much better. Yeah, so I suppose we can end the class today on this note. And I know that what we are studying right now is, again, it is in terms of the Indian context, and it's not a global perspective. But again, you people are all participating so much and giving so much of inputs, that it becomes a very interesting contrast, and to understand each other's countries, and how good or bad, relatively good or bad, we are doing. Like, which are the areas which we need to work on, and which our governments need to work on, which we as a society need to work on, because economy is a part of the society. So we have to keep that in mind as well. So any last comments by any of you? Anything? Yes, Harun, go ahead.
Sorry, my last this thing is just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, actually, in my country, I just know that when someone is opportune to get a job, it is independent of whether he is, irrespective of whether he is a male or female, the salary is the same. But I heard that in some countries, especially in Asian countries, there is a situation whereby a male and female will get the same job and even their own job allocation and the everything will be the same, but the salary will be different. Is that true, ma?
Yeah, it is true for some countries, but it's not true in our case. Like in India, you cannot discriminate in terms of salary. So that discrimination doesn't take place in India. You will, if you are having the same job, then you will be paid the same. So that discrimination doesn't take place. Like I am working for a university, so I and my male counterpart, we are not being paid differently because of our gender. We might be paid differently because of our years of experience or because of the research that we have done, but we will not be like there is no disparity because of the gender. That is not there.
Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions, remarks that you people want to give?
Yes, ma'am. I have
Yeah.
one question or two.
Yeah. Go ahead.
With regards to the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, I heard that you mentioned WTO also. So, what's the similarity? Is it GATT then and WTO now, or
Yes, yes,
they are
yes.
different?
GATT formed in 1944. GATT was a non-statutory organization, and it was formed as a platform for countries to come around with their trade issues. So if they had any bilateral, multilateral trade issues, they could come there and they could sort it out. But it was not binding on the countries because it was not a statutory thing. And in 1980s, when Dunkel was the president of GATT, he started off with he started on reforming the GATT, and that is where, like, which is known as Dunkel proposals. So if you want to Google, you can go to Google and ask for Dunkel proposals. So there were proposals of how you can have a statutory body where all the countries of the world can become signatories to it, and we can have the same trade rules for every country all over the world. And in 1994, WTO came into being, World Trade Organization came into being, which is a statutory body, and it started functioning in 1995. India is a signatory member to it. 2011, China joined it. Other countries have joined it, like as and when they wanted. Accordingly, they have become. And now you under WTO, you have got TRIPS, you have got TRIMS, you have got GATS. TRIPS is basically trade related intellectual property rights. You have got a general agreement on trade and services. You have got TRIMS. You have got, there are parts and subparts to it, and it is all in law. So say supposedly, like have you heard about geo tagging, Mohammed? Have you heard about geo tagging?
No, no, actually.
Has anybody heard about geo tagging?
Yes, I just heard it from you, Prof.
Okay, so sweet. Okay, geotagging is when you have got something which is indigenous to your place, but there is no copyright or patent to it, because there is not a single manufacturer or a single thing. So what happens is now, because of WTO and this TRIPS, trade related intellectual property rights, it created a lot of issues with patenting, with intellectual properties, that is your patent, copyright, trademarks, logos, all these. So now what happened was that the developed countries, they started taking advantages of developing countries. Like we had an issue with turmeric, with neem, with basmati rice. We had these issues with America because they patented them, and they said that they have a patent on this. And we said that turmeric belongs to India from donkey's years, neem belongs to us, basmati belongs to us. And then we had to fight it in the court of law. We went to WTO, we challenged it, and then we won that. So now there's something called geotagging which has started. Geotagging means that you, things which are indigenous, like in India, how can I, like, you people know of saffron, which is used in food? Have you heard about saffron? It's a
Yes.
Yes, Vasant, you know of saffron.
Yeah.
Saffron is a what? It's a spice
Kind of a
Which
spice, yeah.
yeah, it's a spice that you use in your savory items and in your sweets to give it color.
Biryani and everything, yeah.
Yeah, biryani in biryani. You put it in biryani. You put it in a lot of sweets as well.
Is it
It
is
gives
it like
color.
turmeric? Turmeric?
Yeah, turmeric is a root. Saffron is it's a flower, and from that flower you get this shavings of that flower, and you use it. It's very expensive. It's expensive than gold, and
Wow.
yeah, and we use it in our kitchens. We use it in very small quantities, and now. There's a place called Jammu Kashmir in India. There's a state called Kashmir. I don't know whether you people have heard about it or not. And
Yes, we've heard of Kashmir
okay,
in
yeah, you have
Indian
heard.
movies.
Yeah, you have heard about. Okay, great. So Kashmir has the geotag of saffron because it belongs to that entire area. So it has been given. Now I was discussing this with my MBA class in my university, and one of the students from Africa, Godlove, I don't know, I think so. He's from Zambia. He when I was discussing geotagging, so he was asking that what are the things that are geotagged in Zambia, and if I can very quickly, there is giraffe, I suppose, which has been geotagged things in Zambia, if I may write that. Okay, so Zambia Falls, Victoria Falls in Zambia has been geotagged, and yeah, so you can see that what like in India we have got a lot of things which have been geotagged. So you can see that similarly for your countries that what this so this falls under WTO because of the TRIPS thing. This has started happening. So there are WTO is an advancement of this what GATT. It's after GATT that this came up. WTO came up. Mohammed, I don't know whether I made it clear or I'm confused. I gave you too much of more information.
Yes, it's clear.
It's clear. Okay.
So
Fine.
since
Yeah.
after World War they since after the Second World War they intended to boost economic recovery
Hmm.
and they wanted to minimize what will I say barriers to international trade. Did
Yes.
they actually achieve their full purpose?
To an extent, what happened is that when African and Asian countries started becoming free, like all these like the colonial rulers that you have, Britain, Spain, Netherlands, France, when they because after the Second World War, obviously they could not continue to have these colonies because they did not have the funds to continue. So what they did is when they started leaving, the countries were all the countries were agrarian countries. That means they were all agriculture countries based on agriculture. And when they started moving towards industrialization and towards the tertiary sector, that is when they started trading as well. Now the developed countries wanted to sell their goods to these countries, but the countries, obviously, they did not want to like let their domestic producers fight with these global giants. So everybody started having a very protectionist pattern of governance. Like in India we went for import substitution. That means we said that instead of importing goods, you start manufacturing the goods in the country. So we went for a policy of import substitution, and we did quite well with import substitution. And this the same thing the African countries did, and all of us, we started developing indigenous technology. Like we had our first supercomputers in 1977. So we built our supercomputers, and we said that we do not want a lot of technology from you because we have our own technology, and we will progress. Now this was not good for the years of the developed countries, because they wanted their products to be sold in all our countries, and they wanted to flood our markets with their products. and that is what GATT was striving to do, but GATT was not succeeding because it was not a statutory body. So what WTO did is that when USSR got balkanized, and we moved from a bipolar world to a unipolar world, that is when they brought in WTO as a vehicle to enter into all the countries in the name of trade, and then they started disrupting your politics as well. They started disrupting your culture, they started disrupting your society, and that is how it has worked. So GATT did not succeed much in terms of making the trades go, though we have had a lot of multilateral trade agreements from your those days. Like there is in Africa, you have got MENA, you have got South Africa trade relations, you have got there is this there is ECOWAS. There's a multilateral trade agreement in Africa called ECOWAS. So there are with India we have had, then we have got BRICS, in which South Africa is a part to BRICS. You have got SAFTA, you have got NAFTA, you have got EU, you have got SARC, you have got BIMSTEC, you have got ASEAN, you have got G20, G10, G5, G4. So all these multilateral trade agreements and groups are there, which have increased the trade amongst the countries, but it was not as free as the developed countries wanted. So that is the reason that what they brought in this vehicle of WTO. Yes, Mohammed.
Thank you, mom.
Okay. Fine. So I'll let me close this session and we'll meet again tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry. I have got a class on Wednesday, I suppose. On Wednesday and Thursday, I've got 2 classes. So I'll meet you people then. And thank you so much for participating today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Bye.
Thank
very
you, ma'am.
much. Have a
Bye.
Thank you,
pleasant
ma'am.
day.
Good day.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
ma. Thank you, ma.
Yeah,
And have a
Suleiman, you want to
pleasant
say
day.
something? Okay. Okay, let me stop the recording.
Thank you.